Welcome to The Good Pod, where today we're talking Elsbeth, Season 2, Episode 11, Tiny Town. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Reed. With me, as always, the one, the only, Marissa Garza. Marissa, you good?
I'm good. Jason, you good?
I'm good. Listen, Elsbeth,
Yeah.
Season 2, Episode 11, the Valentine's Day episode, ostensibly.
It was very meet cutie.
Very meet cutie. Yeah, like, again, a departure from the norm where we don't know the exact culprit when we start. So I thought that was, again, I really love when Elsbeth strays from its formula and we do something a little different. So this was an interesting episode to get through. It was less about the crime, more about Elsbeth and her personal life for once.
Yeah. And I also wonder if this is the reason or part of the reason why we got a delay so that this episode could land like when it did. Because remember when we were coming back from break, we thought it was going to start on January 17th. It ended up starting on the 31st. And this episode just like very perfectly lined up with Valentine's Day. So it's just a question. Yeah. I really wish the writers, I know you're listening, call us and tell us. Let us know what is going on. Yeah. We really have a lot of questions.
Yes. The guest star this week was not the culprit, was not the murderer. It was our love interest, Ian Griffith, who some people may know. I know him most of all from Fantastic Four, the original Fantastic Four, not the one coming up soon. Our buddy over from The Good Wife, Pedro, is going to be Mr. Fantastic, but in the old Fantastic Four, Ian Griffith was Mr. Fantastic. So that's an interesting little parallel we got there. So yeah, he is our love interest. He is our Scottish. When we started in Scotland and they started talking, I was like, let me make sure my closed captioning is on because I'm having a hard time here.
I was like, it would be really funny if Alan Cumming was like walking in the background or something. Or came in or
that's right.
That'd be so cool.
Cute.
But
before we get started on everything about this episode, let's get into some free and easy ways that you, as our listener / watcher, can help out this podcast. You can always help us out by subscribing, following on all your podcasting platforms, and no matter where you're listening or watching, there's a way for you to give us a thumbs up, to give us a review, give us a rating, and let us know you're really digging what we are serving you by giving us 5 stars, writing in a 5-star review, or just hitting the thumbs up on our YouTube video if that's the way you're watching. We love hearing from our viewers / listeners. So if you want to write a comment in YouTube, leave it in your written review, or you can email us at thegoodpodfeedback@gmail.com and we will get back to you with whatever it is you have to say. We always love hearing from our viewers / listeners. So those are just some free and easy ways you can help us out on this podcast by getting us into more eyes and ears of the people. Now that's out of the way, Marissa. Let's get into the case of the week.
All right. Should we like open the iris? Is that like a thing?
Let's open up all our irises to
make sure we
figure
can
out
see
what's
everything
going on.
Clearly. Yeah, so this case really utilized this thing called the iris, which is based off of the portal. Do you remember this portal thing, Jason?
I did not even hear about it until this episode where I like researched it. I was like, oh, this is an actual thing that happened. I did not even know this was a thing.
It was an actual thing that happened until we ruined it. So yeah, it was fine.
What did we do to ruin it? People moon it? Were they mooning people? Yeah, that seems like something we would do. It seems like we would be abusing this thing and causing people to shut it down. Like, y'all can't have anything nice. You have to come and ruin it. So we have to come and shut it down. That seems like America to a T. I don't even think it was. Where was the portal to? I think
it was in New York, and no, it was New York and Dublin. I think
Dublin. I don't even think it probably would have been anyone in Dublin. I would imagine it was someone from America doing some shenanigans and getting it shut down. I have no doubt about that.
I thought it was an interesting concept because it did come out like right shortly after lockdown when people were starting to go back outside. So it was like a way to connect people. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it wasn't, apparently. But I also would do what Angus, our friend in Scotland, was doing here, is just sit there and people watch all day. Like, what a great setup.
People watching is such an underrated pastime. Just being like, what's this person's deal? What's going on with this person? Like, why does this person look so weird? I love doing that when I'm just out in my everyday life. So just to have an opportunity to sit and watch people from another country do things would be like, huh. That's why I love reality shows so much. Like, I'm a 90 Day Fiance fan. I love looking at other cultures and seeing what they do. Just that's a way to people watch. So I would be right down there like Angus, sitting in a cafe, just watch what people are doing.
Yeah. Angus is watching and he's seeing these two. He thinks they're lovers. These two people keep meeting up at a regular time, having a conversation, and he's talking to Fiona, the cafe waitress, and she's, oh, do you think, are they going to get together? What's going on? Total cheesemate, as we say in Mexico, but the tea, like talking about the stuff. And they notice that she's waiting for this guy to arrive again. But while this girl is waiting, a guy walks up, yells at her, takes some chocolates that she had, and there's a fight. There's like a whole big thing going on. Fiona spills some cream, so they're distracted for a moment. Angus and Fiona in Scotland are distracted from seeing what's going on. And when they look back, they see that the girl is stumbling and choking, and then she dies just like right out there. And Angus, look behind you. And of course, us Americans are like, oh, hi, how's it going? Not even looking what's going on.
These Scots, what's going on with the Scots? They're doing some weird thing with pointing. Is that a thing they do over there? Just being so oblivious, not having any idea. These look behind you, there's someone dying. You're like, oh, they're so cute. Look at let's do the same thing they're doing. That's fun, right? It's interesting. There's no audio in this thing. It's only you can only see things, you can't hear them. So Angus is like trying to get them to look behind. Oh, look at he's pointing at us. Look at he's pointing at us. It was so funny.
It was really funny. Also funny, also weird is when Elsbeth and Kaya arrive on the scene, and the first thing out of Elsbeth's mouth is, she looks sad. Do you think she's sad? I'm like, are you doth protesting too much, Elsbeth? Are you telling us you're sad? What's going on?
The way that this show treats death is interesting because it's not like Elsbeth are sad. There's, oh, look at this dead person. Isn't that crazy? Is there some respect for the dead, please? Right? Like, it was so odd.
Yeah, and Kaya's, I think she said, because she's dead. Like,
yeah,
it's like a thing.
It was a way to look like. I've clocked that about Elsbeth and our heroes before. I know this is supposed to be a drama / comedy, but I feel like the way they treat like death is interesting. Maybe they see it so much, it's like they're numb to the feeling of grief and death by looking at dead person. It's like occupational hazard to be numb to death at some point, I guess.
Yeah. When they're there, they see that the iris has been covered by the cops, and Elsbeth is, we gotta see what's going on because maybe somebody saw something. And she gets to uncover it, and lo and behold, who's on the other side? None other than Angus. And he's been just hanging out there staring at nothing.
We don't know how long the iris has been covered up, but I feel like as soon as it was covered up, I'd be like, guess that show's over. Time for me to go. But he's still just hanging out there. We find out much later what his like real occupation is, but we're just like, does this man have nothing better to do but to hang out here? What is this man's deal? Because he's still there when they uncover it. It's, oh, hey, it's you.
He like fake plays the mandolin very well, but other than that, I have no idea what he's doing.
Yeah, he's like hanging out there all the time.
There is a cute little moment where Elsbeth and Angus are like miming to try and figure out like what goes on. But then, of course, Elsbeth has a marker in her coat pocket and is able to put her phone number on her hands. I did want to point out is a 312 area code. So she doesn't need to change her number, but shout out to Chicago 312. And then they also reveal in their conversation that Elsbeth is what, Jason? Elsbeth is what?
She's a consultant.
She's a consultant.
We've totally just done away with the degree. What is it? The decree?
The consent decree.
Yeah, I'm a consent decree lawyer. No, she is now a full-blown consultant. We have been tracking this consultant thing for 2.5 seasons now of Elsbeth. Like she has to keep explaining the decree lawyer bit every time someone meets her. And now she's, you know what? I'm just a consultant. And in these shows, the consultant word is commonplace. Like, I'm a consultant. I don't know why I didn't just have this happen in the first place. I guess they had to have us doubt Wagner in the first episode. So that was her role. But now I wish we would have gotten some kind of thing like, all right, Elsbeth, you're not a decree lawyer anymore. We're just going to call you a consultant from now on. You're just here to help us out because you're so good at detectiving. You're just like helping us solve cases now. Let's just have that be said by someone at some point. But it seems like we've transitioned completely out of decree lawyer into consultant. Because remember, we were throwing around the word consultant a little bit. Like, oh, she's a decree lawyer. She consults. And it's like, now it's just, I'm a consultant. That's it.
I am glad she is free from the consent decree explanation every time. Yeah. That she has to introduce herself. Hey, I'll take a consultant. Also in this conversation, this is once they're on the phone, Angus tells Els, yes, I'm a witness. I think she died after the chocolate robbery that had happened. And he also throws in I like your jacket. Hey. And do you? Like, I also like my jacket. That's so interesting. And they have this other conversation about, what are you? I'm a writer. And Els was like, I love writer, or I like writers who write music. And I love people who love writers who love music. It was a very, this is where we're going type of moment.
Yeah, I thought it was so important that he liked her fashion, because I think for most people, Elsbeth's fashions are very weird. So I think it's important that this guy who will be her romantic interest likes what she's bringing to the party in terms of what she's wearing and everything. The physical comedy of this episode, every episode has up and down in terms of the physical comedy that Elsbeth displays. This was a big physical comedy episode.
Oh, so good.
As she meets Angus, she's miming the death of Angus miming back. So they're connecting on this interesting level already. And you can already tell, oh, this is like something. But yeah, just the way she's miming the death, and then later on when with the perfume stuff, like just the physical comedy was big in this episode.
Yeah, they really turned up that dial a lot in this episode. They found out that the victim worked around the corner because they found her badge. So they go and it's like, hang out here, Angus. I don't know when I'll be back, but I gotta go check on this thing. So go do that and I'll meet you back here. He's okay, cool. I have nothing else to do but hang out with the sheep. So they go to the victim's place of work. It turns out to be a cosmetics company. Her badge isn't working. So something has happened to the victim's like work permissions already. Elsbeth is, of course, being very curious, walks over to the perfume counter asking about perfumes. And a couple funny things here. One, the lady's, yes, this is a small bottle for your purse. And Elsbeth has all of her 18 bags that she puts on the counter.
Purses are usually small and fashionable, as Elsbeth has like her 5 tote bags around her shoulders.
And then, as you were saying on the physical comedy front, like Elsbeth is, I know I'm not supposed to spray it on me. I'm supposed to walk into a cloud, all this stuff. And she ends up like spraying herself right in the eye with perfume, which perfume is like mostly alcohol. So that is going to sting real bad. And it stays with Elsbeth for quite some time.
Yeah, and she's like stumbling everywhere, knocking into walls. It was such a fun, like, physical comedy bit for Carrie Preston here.
Yes. The head of security is a little too quick for my liking to get downstairs to say, hey, hi, I'm the head of security. What's going on? He's like, oh, yeah, come up to my office. Let me just tell you that conveniently, Haley, the victim, failed her drug test, and we just ended up cutting her badge this morning. She's been sober for years. This doesn't make any sense. And of course, Elsbeth and Kaya want to get those drug results. And he's, don't worry. I'm just going to send over the whole file. I'm that nice. Let me just send it over.
We give you everything you need so you don't question anything else.
Yeah.
Now, did you clock anything at this point? Because I don't know why, but I just did not clock anything with this guy.
I didn't clock anything with. I knew he was going to be connected. I didn't know how he was going to be connected, but he was a little too helpful for me in my first watch. Back at the station, they get there and they're talking about the autopsy report, and this has to be delivered in person by, I forget his name, but I put down MD roommate / Gilded Age man.
Yeah, I just called him ME at first, but his name is Cameron.
That's his first name. Thank you.
Of course, Cameron. They didn't say it. They didn't say it in the episode, which is like, why not? We have not seen this man for what, 3 or 4 weeks now, not including the break we've had. Come on, let's get him reintroduced, please. But yeah, his name's Cameron, and he apparently has moved in with Kaya, because the last we saw Cameron, he was thinking about renting out Kaya's room that she had for rent. And we'll find out this episode. Apparently, he took her up on it, and they are living in the same domicile.
And again, another C name, Cameron. They do love the letter C over there at the Elsbeth. Okay, so Cameron is delivering the results of the autopsy in person, and Wagner, could this not have been like an email? Basically, like, why are you here? He's like, it's just, I was in town, I was around. I just thought it'd be better if I delivered in person and given a look. So there's some there.
Very cute. This is a very cute moment where he's very bashful. I just thought I was in the neighborhood, so it was like you could have emailed this over. Like, why are you even here? He's like, I thought I'd come and visit people that maybe I do or do not know in the office. Maybe I want to see them. I don't know. Quit hounding me.
In the background,
just try to be nice.
Elsbeth is still recovering from her eye injury. She's very much still one eye closed. But it turns out the cause of death was a fentanyl overdose. And so Wagner's, this is pretty easy peasy. Let's just transfer it over to narcotics. We should mention we have a different detective on this case. And I also forgot her name, but she is the data focused one.
She's the techie one. She's the techie detective. I think her name is Detective Edwards, if I recall correctly.
I believe you are correct. Yes. Yeah.
She's the techie detective, but she didn't really do anything super techie this episode. She didn't really do much of anything at all, to be honest.
No, but she was there and it wasn't Smolin. So I was like, okay, at least we're getting back into the rotation.
Yes, exactly.
So she also agrees, hey, yeah, let's get it over to narcotics. But they want to wait till the full toxicology report comes back. So that gives one more day. So Wagner's, go get your witness report on the Scottish witness. He was very confused
Yeah,
how there was a Scottish witness in the situation.
We have a witness in Scotland? What are you talking about? We have a witness? But of course, they're like, oh yeah, this is easy. Send it over to narcotics to get off our desk. And Elsbeth's like, not so fast. It's like,
Yeah.
and I think Wagner's point is like, okay, Elsbeth, you have a day to do your Elsbeth thing and figure it out. Otherwise, saying, I think at this point they're just like, everyone in the office is like, all right, like Elsbeth's gonna Elsbeth her thing, so let's give her a shot. Why not?
I loved how the scene ended with him closing his doors to his office and the line delivery of, you might want to go a little light on that perfume. I don't know what it was, but I laughed out loud. I laughed out loud.
He's great at those like one-line stings of, you might want to go a little light on that. He's great at that. I love when Wagner does that type of stuff.
It was so cool.
Wagner's comedy is so understated, but I think that's what makes it like really great. Wendell Pierce is really great at that type of comedy. So I think he's in the perfect kind of role for that in this. So every time we have Wagner, I like the fact that we're light on the Wagner all the time. And then when we get him, he really does his thing.
Yeah. And he can go from like super serious to not super serious in like 2 seconds.
Totally.
So it's a good switch to have. After leaving Wagner's office, you can totally see Kaya and Cameron walking down the hall. They're having a little chit chat like about water pressure. I was like, okay. And Elsbeth is like avoiding walls still with her irritated eye, but she goes to head out to interview Angus and she puts on more pink.
Because he commented about her pink coat. Oh, I like pink. She's like, oh, let me grab a little more pink. But going back to the Kaya of it all, Kaya and Elsbeth relationship was so fun because Kaya's like, oh, wall, Elsbeth, wall. Yeah. Like they're so cool now. They're so friends.
It's or also like sister relationship. Oh,
yeah, for sure.
Don't hit the wall. You're okay. Yeah. So Elsbeth goes back to talk with Angus, tells him what's going on, gets a statement. He thinks that this whole situation was like a Tinder date, that he might have been cheating on someone. This is where we find out he writes songs. Elsbeth is pretty smitten at this moment. Songs? I love songs.
Yeah, it was pretty instant connection. There's not much. They haven't even spoken much, but you can just tell that she's like, oh, like he's kind of a cutie. Like he's interesting. Everyone loves a musician, a sensitive musician, which Angus kind of seems to be. So she's really into it.
Yeah, and also we have not seen the side of Elsbeth. Like,
no.
And I don't even think ever in any of the other series.
Yeah, I don't think so. We've seen people interested in Elsbeth in this Elsbeth TV series, but she hasn't really returned the favor much. We've seen this running gag of firemen being into her and her just being, oh, I stay away from firemen. Like I know I'm just a fetish or kink for them because of my hair, so I'm just not even gonna entertain it. If you remember Jake the fireman from earlier in this season, where he was just like,
this season,
gaga about her, just over the top. Oh my god, you're so beautiful, blah blah. And she's like, no, I'm not gonna fall for that trap. So we haven't seen her return the interest, and so we're seeing that in this episode where she's a little like giddy every time she sees and talks to Angus.
Yeah, the vibes are vibing. She gets a phone call in the middle of this conversation where they find out that the victim Haley had a boyfriend and her boyfriend was her emergency contact. So we got to go talk to the boyfriend. Of course, Elsbeth tells Angus, hey, she's got a boyfriend. I'll be back. And Angus is cool. Yeah, I'll stay here in front of the screen like forever. The boyfriend is brought in. He is crying. He's very upset. And Elsbeth goes in for the kill in this conversation. She's just, are you jealous? Do you think she was cheating on anyone? What's going on? And Detective Edwards is, okay, calm down. Not that serious. But Elsbeth is like taking what Angus said to heart. Oh my gosh, she could have been cheating on someone.
At first, the guy, I think his name is Charles, is like, vehemently denying. He's like, I didn't follow her. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, that story will change a little bit later, but yeah, it was interesting how he was confronted with this.
Yeah, and we find out that Haley was doing IVF with Charlie, like they were planning a family. The IVF comes into play a bit later, but they're like, okay, let's just see if Angus can ID this guy, because if that'll give us something if he's not going to say anything. So they bring Charlie to the Iris. And Angus IDs him right off the bat. He's like, that's the man who fought with her. And they go back to the station to interrogate him. Kaya is like doing some interrogation now. Like she's in the process. And we find out that he was jealous because she was cheating. She stopped sharing locations with him and he got really upset. And I do what Detective Edwards said here of didn't have to be cheating. Maybe you were just controlling. Like it doesn't have to be.
Detective Edwards has had some shady boyfriends in the past. I can tell you that much. I was trying to control her, but yeah, because like he was talking about the fact that he found an encrypted text app that she was using to communicate with someone. So that'll come into play later as well. So he was pretty sure she was cheating, and yeah, that comes into play later. But
yeah. So now they're gonna go try to find this other guy that she was talking to in this app, and Elsbeth goes home from this day and we see a very long scene. I did not expect this to be this long of a scene, but it is of Elsbeth looking up Angus and also looking up the town in which Angus is in while in Scotland and really just like letting herself daydream with Gonzo on the couch.
Stalker much? I guess. This is a little far for someone you just literally met like yesterday and have not talked more than 20 words with. So I was like, okay, you're falling hard for this random guy that you barely know. So I was like, maybe she's just like in love with the dream of Angus, like who Angus could be. He's this mysterious Scottish musician man, and she's just listening to his music and kind of being wistful with Gonzo. I thought that was like, okay, Elsbeth, you're falling hard for this man you barely know.
Yeah, and she's got her Valentine's Day pajamas on. She's very much in the vibe.
It could be the season. The season is making her think of love and what could be. Maybe that's the whole thing.
It's her first Valentine. No, it's not. I was like, it's her first Valentine's Day in New York, but this is her second year, I think, there. So they bring a sketch artist out to the Iris to talk to Angus and get a sketch of this other person that, like the person that Haley was meeting with the chocolates and everything. And after that, they find out that this person's name is George, and George had a boyfriend, and also George was a journalist. And also George is dead. So we find out a lot about George in 30 seconds.
Yeah, crazy, because the barista says, oh, they asked George, and that's a guy's always been looking for him, because we are thinking at this point that George and Haley have a thing going on.
Right.
And we find out from this guy that George is looking for George. Oh, crap. This guy has a boyfriend. They've been in a relationship for over a year. So, okay, this is interesting. And then we get hit with oh, by the way, George is dead.
Yeah.
Did you notice the shot of George dead in the morgue? Just basically they took a picture of this man, like just looking at the just look at the camera. Hey, what's up?
Like hey, I'm dead. Like that was
that's not a very convincing dead person photo. Like, come on, man. You could at least close his eyes or put the same crest they put on Haley.
Yeah.
They put like some white powder makeup on him to make him look pale. It's like, all right, just look at the camera and say cheese. They didn't put him on like a slab or nothing. He was just like against the wall.
Again, I wonder if you're on the Elsbeth production team, let us know what's going on. Yeah, so not only is George dead, though, he is dead in the same way that Haley died with the fentanyl overdose, and the body was found not too far away from the Iris. So obviously it's looking like these two murders are connected. This is also like one of the first. We don't have, like you said at the beginning of this podcast, this is not so much about the case, it's more about Elsbeth, but we know nothing about Elsbeth or George or Haley or George other than like that they died. Usually there's like investigation into their a little bit more, but it was basically just person A dead, person B dead.
There's very thin characterization here with no real facts or anything. Like we care less about the victims. We care more about what's going on with Elsbeth in this episode.
Yep. So Elsbeth, using this information, thinks like, oh, hey, maybe Haley was a whistleblower talking to George, trying to say something about the cosmetics company, and gets a phone call from Angus, where he, of course, has to drop some Scottish vocabulary for Elsbeth to learn. So Crivens apparently means crap. And Angus then takes it on himself to help Elsbeth out by asking Fiona at the tavern or at the pub. Hey, like who else would have seen it while we were cleaning up the cream? And it turns out it was these two sisters, the Mollys, who were quite great characters. I will say I enjoyed the Mollys.
Yeah, I'm a big Muppet head, and they were like the Statler and Waldorf on those episodes, arguing back and forth, being crotchety and old. I thought they were very cute.
Yes. They do go back and question Charlie about what was going on with Haley the weekend before she was murdered. And this is where we find out that they were in couples therapy and she also had to get blood work done for the IVF. Now, blood work is super important because of the drug test that was at the beginning of this episode that apparently got her kicked out of work. Turns out that the blood work was done on Friday and the IVF blood work was done on Saturday, and there was drugs in her system on Friday, but not drugs in her system on Saturday, which apparently, like with opiates, is not very likely that the Saturday one would be clean. Now they're like, okay, something's up here. Let's go try to find the editor, George's editor, to see what he was working on. Elsbeth goes back to the Iris. Angus is there with the Mollies, and there's this whole like breakdown of what was happening while Angus and Fiona were dealing with the spilt cream. And it was very funny. It's just, there was a man wearing a surgical mask. I couldn't see because of the surgical mask.
He had a tartan design on his scarf. What kind of tartan was it?
And then they're fighting about the tartan. And then Angus tries to help and clarify. And they're like, are you telling the story or am I? It was very fun. But then Elsbeth makes the fatal mistake of calling it a patterned scarf. And this ends, the Mollies are like, we don't want to talk to her anymore. Patterned scarf. What are you talking about? But after that phone call, Elsbeth is walking away. She declares that her phone is dead or almost dying before walking away.
First, it was
international calls. I was very confused at the technology of this.
I don't know, maybe the phone has to work harder for international calls, so the battery runs lower. I don't know if that makes any sense, or if Elsbeth just forgot to charge her phone today. I almost thought she was like trying to just get out of it. All right, my phone's dying. I'm gonna just go.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
now. Bye. But her phone was actually dying. That was interesting. Yeah, she does blame it on the international calls, which is interesting.
I just was like, maybe just you've been using your phone a lot more. If you talk on the phone just with anyone, it doesn't have to be international. I don't know. But okay, your phone is dying. She walks away. She's on her way to go check with the security guy at the cosmetics company. But while she's walking away, Angus and the Mollies see the man with the surgical mask. And it is very dangerous walking after Elsbeth here. And Angus is trying to get Elsbeth's attention, tries to call, but her phone is actually dead or dying. He is not able to contact her before she arrives at the cosmetics company, goes back, talks to him. Before she does, she stops at the cosmetics counter again, or the perfume counter again, and talks about the tiny bottles. Is it possible that you can use these for something else? Yes. But okay, yes, tell us, the audience, that this is happening. She goes back up to talk to, I can't even remember his name, Townsend.
Thor, which was an interesting name.
Yeah.
Thor. I was like, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, this gets mighty sus very quick.
Yeah, I was an officer in Denver. I know what your job is. Just, yeah, cool. Confirm the date of this drug test, because as you can see on this paper, it's not that clear. I'll do you one better. Again, anytime someone's, I'll do you one better, or I'll give you more than what you're asking for, I'm like, oh, let me go get the original file. She's thought that'd be so great. And while he's gone, Elsbeth sees the tartan scarf on a coat rack.
Because there's the murderer is the only person in New York that owns a scarf of that pattern. So it must be this man. And of course, she goes into the pocket and finds a surgical mask as well. Oh, he also has a listen. It's New York. I'm sure some people still walk around with surgical masks.
Yeah.
Due to COVID. So I was like, okay, yeah, he has both things. Hey, this could be a really bad guy. Why would you still keep the surgical mask after you've killed these people? I would probably get rid of the surgical mask like immediately.
Yeah, it would have been interesting if she saw like a box of masks.
Yeah.
Because like you just wear it and throw it out, but
or like some masks, and then like she opens a drawer and there's like a few of those empty perfume bottles.
Yeah.
A little more incriminating to let us know this, and maybe just some spare fentanyl lying around, like to put all pieces together.
Yeah.
There's some empty bottles here. Oh my gosh, look in this other drawer. There's a bunch of fentanyl in here. Let me put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah,
But the
it
scarf
was
and the mask were enough for her.
that was it. That was it. And she realizes she is in danger. So she picks
You're
up
in
her
danger,
phone,
girl.
tries to make a phone call. Her phone is dead. So she decides to fake a phone call with Wagner at this point. Hey, yeah, officer or Captain Wagner, like this is all yes, come get me. I am in danger. And
So if you
this
don't
is
hear me, this is where my last location was.
yes. Yeah. He walks back into the room and is, oh, your phone is dead. Takes her phone from her and is really up in Elsbeth's face. And she she calls him out. She's, I know what you did. If you kill me too, it's gonna look mighty suspicious that all these people are dying of fentanyl overdoses. And his response was, some people just disappear. And I was like,
Yikes.
okay, this isn't your
Listen,
first rodeo in this world.
Definitely not. This is probably the most danger that we've ever seen Elsbeth in, like the closest to having bodily harm or death fall upon her,
Yeah.
which was really interesting because we've been talking like ever since we've been covering the show, like Elsbeth gets so close to all these murderers and literally looks at them and tells them she knows it's them. I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often where they try to off Elsbeth, but yeah, she was legit scared. She was like yelling for help. I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is an interesting way to see Elsbeth. And of course, we all knew that Elsbeth was not going to die or be hurt here.
No.
And oh yeah, and he like so we still don't really know what exactly happened. So we get it all confirmed from Thorwald. Hey,
yes,
the concealer has something in it. That's an issue. And Haley was going to whistleblow on the company. So that's why we had to kill Haley. That's why we had to kill George, who was investigating this.
Well,
Haley
because
was the whistleblower.
And there was a USB drive in the chocolates.
Yep.
It wasn't, I also ate all the chocolates. They were delicious, but I also took this USB drive that had the files that Haley was passing to George. So yeah, like we had a lot of information in this altercation.
Yeah, there was an info dump in like that 5 seconds. Oh, okay, this is the whole case. This is why I killed this person. This is what she was doing. I was like, okay, cool. We have all our information we need now.
Yes. And Elspeth she's yelling for help and someone's at the door and she's like, and the security guy responds back, I'm busy and just with someone he's going to kill. Like, I am in danger. And of course, the team arrives. Wagner and Kaya are there. They arrest the man. The CEOs paid me to do it. They're like, I don't really care. You did it. Like, this is, you did the crime. Now you got to go do the time type of thing. And Elsbeth is just so taken aback. Like, how did you know to get here? And it was Angus. He called the switchboard. She's, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And then yes.
But how do they know that she was going to the company? How do they know where exactly?
Yeah, I have no idea. Unless she's tracked. Unless they put a tracker in one of the bags.
Yeah, maybe. I was like, that's a little suspension of disbelief. But I guess we could surmise that since she's working this case, that might be one of the places she was going. Because Angus didn't know where she was going, so Angus couldn't have told them. So I guess it made a assumption. I was like, okay, that's a little. I'll let it go though. It's Elsbeth. I'll let it go.
It's Elsbeth.
There's a bigger issue I have later down the line, but this I'll let go.
Elsbeth, of course, wants a group hug also at this, which Wagner is very resistant to participating in, but does anyway.
I love that because she's I need a group hug with everybody. She's like, but you. She like pushes Thorwald away, like, not you though. And I guess not Edwards either, because Edwards is the one taking Thorwald away. And also this hugs Kai and Wagner, which is it's just so cute because it's like, oh, this is our three main heroes. We don't the rotating detective doesn't get to come in. It's just our three best friends.
And of course, she's so excited. She's like, I gotta go tell Angus. Let me go back to the Iris. And she goes, and Angus isn't there. I'm so sad.
I don't know about you, but I knew exactly what was
happening. Yeah, like, exactly. Okay, yeah. Because there was like this whole conversation about I've never been to New York and I got to get there one day and blah, 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 blah. But before that all happens, Elsbeth and Kaya are eating chocolates and talking about Valentine's Day. And Kaya's giving her he's a musician. Don't get in too deep. Like musicians are musicians. And Kaya comes home from this day and finds Cameron there, and he's got this little cupcake that he wants to give Kaya and puts it by the door. And so it's like a Valentine's Day cupcake. He's, hey, my friends at the morgue had cupcakes and I just brought you some. It's just cool, but morgue cupcakes are not really my vibe. And he was all like, yeah, I didn't even think about the bacterial, blah, 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 blah.
I was surprised she like turned down the cupcake. I was like, that's rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, more cupcakes aren't really my vibe. It feels like Kaya is kind of sort of trying to resist this a little bit. I don't know. I don't know why, but I would have taken the more cupcake. I don't care if it's in a more cupcake looks like a cupcake. It looked good to me.
Well,
I'd have taken it.
if he ate one.
I also wish you could have seen if this was him trying to shoot his shot, but not really. I wish you would have seen like him covering up some sort of baking stuff. Because to show that,
Yeah.
oh no, you baked this especially for
Yeah.
Kaya. Because I didn't we hear like in his first episode
Yes.
that he likes to make baked goods.
Yes. That's what I thought was happening. I was like,
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Oh,
I
he
wish you would
made
have got a scene where
cupcakes.
he's like running into the kitchen to cover up the stuff he used to bake this cupcake with.
Yeah.
But I guess this wasn't more cupcake or whatever. So like she turns down his more cupcake, but
She invites him to go get ice cream from the bodega, and he's, you want to do something together on the 14th of February? This is the thing that you want to do. We need dish soap also.
I thought what was going to happen when we had the interaction with them in the precinct in the beginning of the episode. I thought maybe there's already something happening with Cameron and Kaya, and that she would come home and they would start making out or something. Like we reveal they were already going out together. So I guess we're doing a slow burn on this Cameron and Kaya situation, but we know that's where it's headed. So yeah, I thought maybe we were in store for that. Like maybe she was even keeping the secret from Elsbeth, and this is just her thing, but. I'm curious to see where this Cameron Kaya stuff goes.
I'm excited for Kaya. I think it'll be good for her. While Kaya is at home with her more cupcake and Cameron, Elsbeth goes to go wait by the iris to see if Angus is going to show back up. And of course, music comes out of nowhere. He's there. First of all, he has a guitar is bigger than a mandolin that he was playing at the beginning of this episode. It really bothered me that he brought a guitar and did not bring a mandolin, because I'm like, if you're traveling, would you not want to bring the smaller of the two? But whatever, musicians are going to musician. He plays the music, comes out, and these two are not slow burning it. They are just like, I had to come. And she's like, yeah, you had to be here. You had to be here. And we find out that not only does Angus write music, but that is not how he makes his living. He makes his living as a fireman.
I cackled because I did not see that coming at all. I was like, oh, that is so funny. That is so cute. But listen, I'm not an immigration specialist, Marissa. Far from it. Don't we need some sort of advanced, I don't know if it's a visa, I don't know if it's a whatever.
He's visiting.
But don't you need some official paperwork to come visit even on more than a few hours notice?
I think it depends on the country, but I think there are agreements in the EU and between the EU and the United States where you don't need a visa for certain things, but you do need a visa for other things. But yes, this was quite a fast little trip. I was like, oh my God, you like literally just upended your life. And she was saying that like he had concerts that were going on, and he's just like, peace out, boys. Like, see ya.
He's like, do that. He doesn't seem like a very invested musician here. Like it's like a little hobby on the side. When we were under the impression like this was his main gig, and he's just like, nah, they can do it without me. I'm like, so are you really that much of a musician if you can just like peace out on some gigs? Either way, I was like, this is very cute, so cute. Like they didn't really, I don't know if they really sold the romance for me. It seemed like very quick for them barely knowing each other.
Yes, I was like, oh, this is. Oh, I'm worried. I'm like, oh no, where is this gonna go? Like, what's
he just using Elsbeth for a place to stay while he tries to make it big in New York? Is he a scammer? Like that, if they were on 90 Day Fiance, that would be the questions coming up. Is he using her for a place to stay in New York? But yeah, so what do we think is the future here? Are we going to go into next episode and like Elsbeth wakes up in bed and Angus is next to her in the bed? Or are we going to get some explanation of Angus stayed here for a couple of days, but then he went back, and we're gonna keep talking? Do you think we're going to see Angus again, or is this going to be like just a one and done?
I do think we see Angus again, mainly because we got the heart on the Empire State Building. That's really speaking to like long-lasting love. But I think he's going to be a distraction with the Milton Crawford case. I think because coming off of the Van Ness blip of a story, like she was very focused. She's like, I have job to do, this is what I need to do. Now we've got Angus in the picture. I think he will stick around for maybe an episode, but we'll go back. But this long distanceness is going to really bother her, and she won't, like, I think it will come to a point where she has to say, is it Angus or is it my job type of thing?
Yeah, I could see them. I could see the opening of next movie. Yeah, Angus stay here. We had a great couple of days, but now he's back in Tattersall
Yeah.
or wherever he's from, and they keep going this long distance thing going. We probably don't see Ian Griffith or whatever. Like we may not see his face maybe like once more
Maybe
in
like a
the rest of the
FaceTime
season. Maybe a FaceTime like
on the
one more time
on the
throughout the
big
season.
screen.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that'd be cool. But we see conversations of, "Hey, Angus, how are
Yeah.
you?" Blah blah. And maybe like at the end of the season, Elsa's, you know what? I need a vacation. I think I'm going to go to Tattersall to visit Angus, and that'll be like what she does at the end of the season. And then we come back for season 3, and she's, "Oh, I had a great 3 months with
Yeah.
Angus." That's where I maybe see this thing
Yeah.
going. I don't think we're going to get a Ian is going to be a permanent fixture on this show. I think we're going to get him here and there, but I do the fact that they are evolving the Elsbeth character and giving her this love interest.
Yeah, I hope she also talks to Teddy between now and then as well. Like,
Yeah, for sure. We miss Teddy.
Like Teddy was pretty cool. But yeah, I could see that happening for sure. I do not see him becoming part of the New York Fires
No.
protection services.
No,
I
I don't
don't
think so.
Or becoming a fire consultant.
I guess they don't have
She's the
fires
police.
in Tattersall. Because he was hanging out in that place,
he-
never fighting fires.
Yeah, they don't need it. The only other thing I wanted to mention that went on through this entire episode was this whole Wagner being a romantic thing. And they spent a lot of time on it. There was this whole thing about how Wagner's wedding anniversary is on Valentine's Day, and he's very into it, but also it's really frustrating because you can't really find a reservation or do anything. We also learned that he's been taking dance lessons for 5 weeks, trying to impress his wife, Gloria Rubin, who I forget her actual name in the show, but
Mrs. Wagner.
Mrs. Wagner. Yeah. It's this like scene on the rooftop where this all happens. But Jason, my question to you is like, why and where? What was this for?
It was a show that Wagner and his wife are still keeping the fires burning. Wagner mentioned that he's doing this for the year they've had because of all the allegations against him. So he really wants to make this one special. Now, I do remember Elsbeth mentioning that he should get her dance lessons at a few around the Christmas episodes. I guess this was the payoff of that. Now, the dance teacher, did we see that guy before? That's the guy we saw before, right?
Yes.
In the Keegan Michael Key episode.
Yes.
That was the instructor for that. That guy was creepy and weird. And the juxtaposition with him and Wagner, who's grumpy, and this guy who's dancing, blah, blah, was very funny. But there was this look, and I know you saw it too.
Yes.
There was this look on Wagner's wife's face as they were dancing and doing this thing of just a momentary glimmer of I'm breaking this man's heart, or I'm doing something that is not great. And it glimmers my hope alive that there's still more to the story on Wagner's wife that we just haven't seen yet.
You don't bring Gloria Rubin back if there's nothing. Claudia. Yes.
That just hit me. I was like, Claudia. That's what she is. Yeah.
Again with the C. You don't bring Claudia back if there's nothing to do with Claudia. And especially, it's not like it's Gloria Rubin. Like, you're bringing back an accomplished person. So that's a pay for that from a production standpoint. So something has to happen. And yeah, that look was I think either I'm breaking your heart or you're not going to be happy when you find out what I'm actually doing. And he thinks he's doing this move is going to put them back to where they were before everything that happened last season with Lieutenant, what's his name?
The Noonan of it all.
Yes. Yeah. The Noonan of it all. Also, there was a slight little mention that they reopened the murder case that Wagner was talking to the detective about last episode. So I feel like hopefully that will ramp up a little bit more. We are on just starting the back half of the season. So hopefully that will develop a little bit more. But that was the whole episode, unless I missed anything, Jason.
No, it just seems like the entirety of the Van Ness stuff is in our rear view.
Done.
And we are totally done with that. We were wondering last episode, is it going to come up again? Are we going to see Elsbeth testify against these people? But no, it just seems like it's been open and shut. Done. We're just on to the next thing now. So I was like, okay, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's what it is. But yeah, another episode of Elsbeth in the books. I feel, as we've mentioned, Elsbeth is not as dramatic and serious as a good wife. We started this Good Pod venture mainly for the good wife.
Yes.
It just so happens we had Elsbeth come in at the same time. So it's interesting to go through this kind of lighter show when on the other side of our podcast, we're dealing with much more serious topics So it's interesting. I keep saying the word interesting, and someone
Ah!
put in our review doesn't say interesting too much. There is this very dynamic juxtaposition of the lightness of Elsbeth and the seriousness of Good Wife, which is very, very fun for our podcast to go through. It's a very different vibe, I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And as much as my brain does like to find connections between things, sometimes there isn't one. And that's also very nice. I'm like, ooh, I really thought the Van Ness thing was going to bring us somewhere into the Good Wife world, but they seem to really be like stepping away from there. And if the show was set in Chicago, I think it'd be a different story. But by moving it to New York, they really are separating Elsbeth out of that world. Yeah, but if you want to listen to the Good Wife, we've got plenty of Good Wife coverage going on. It is a good watch during this time. So
I see what you did there. Out. Good watch.
Would be a good name for a podcast for Third Watch. The Good Watch.
Oh, there you go. Fantastic. One week you cover Good Wife, one week you cover Third Watch. Yes. So listen, that's our episode for this week. Marissa, do you want to tell the good people where you are, where they can find what you're doing, and what exactly you're up to?
Oh, these are really deep questions. Like Jason, like where am I? I don't know really. You can see what I'm up to if you go to itsmemarissag.com. There I have an email list. Peeps, I'm going back to the email. I know it's real rough, but it is really rough out there in the social media world. So if you want to see what I'm up to, hear from me, please join my email list. I will be telling you all of the stuff and things in there. I've got some upcoming resources for people who want to start podcasting. So if that's you, highly recommend jumping in on the email list to hear what I've got coming up. Jason, I know you've been busy these days. What's been going on with you?
Yeah, there's some stuff coming up. It's Valentine's Day, which means time for some mess in the streets of Love is Blind. Love is Blind season 8 has come out this on February 14th, and me, Asia Welch, and Mary Krakowski are going to go through the first drop of episodes. It should be out probably, if you're listening to this on Sunday, it'll probably be out Monday or Tuesday. We're going to record that today. So look for that in your podcast mailbox. We'll be talking about the first 6 episodes of season 8, because they annoyingly like to drop 6 whole episodes of more than an hour each on the first day. So come check that out if that's your jam. Of course, me and Marissa are here on the Good Pod, but also Marissa, you and I are going to do something special coming up.
We are.
If you are a subscriber to this podcast, you about a month or a little more than a month ago saw us drop a High season 6 part 2 recap and review for you. Not a lot of you listen to it, I'll tell you that much. The Cobra Kai season 6 part 3, the very last 5 episodes of Cobra Kai that will ever exist, came out this past Thursday. Me and Marissa are going to go back to our
stomping grounds.
We're kind of sort of going to go back to our stopping grounds with the people of We Know Scripted TV. We're going to be over on that network talking about the last 5 episodes of Cobra Kai with our friend Grace Leader. So if that is your jam, look for that probably midweek next week. We'll be talking about Cobra Kai season 6 part 3. We already watched it. Spoiler, we both loved it. So we'll be talking about that show. If that's your jam, go look for it over there. It won't be here like we had it last time, because we talked to our peeps over there. Hey, like, we want to really blow this out because this was our first podcasting venture together. We want to blow it out, go back to a bigger platform. So we talked to our peeps over there. Yeah, come on over. So we're going to talk about it with Grace. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be fun. So check that out when that comes out. You can also check me out again talking about the show Married at First Sight over on my podcast Perfect Match with Asia Welch. Things are blowing up over there.
I've heard.
It's a crazy season of television. If you're into those type of love shows and you haven't checked out Married at First Sight, this is the season to check out because it's going down. Me, Asia, and Mari Fourth did a live podcast last week because it was so messy, and we had a great time over there. So check that out if that's your jam. I know that was long-winded, but check all those things out. If any of that stuff I just mentioned is for you, then I have something for you. But until next week, stay good.